I'm quitting reselling and I'm focusing purely on small business mindset. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Really do appreciate you being here. My name's Chris and I'm building a business that suits my lifestyle, and things are about to get very, very interesting. Now you're probably thinking, what does that mean? Well, that's what I'm here to talk to you about, right? And this video that I'm about to share with you and what I'm about to talk to you about, it's something that I've kind of been struggling with because I've been concerned of how people may take it. But the reality is there is a bit of a spin to this, which doesn't really change much, but it's more about in the mindset. It's more about how I'm now thinking about things differently. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, the small business mindset. So what does this all mean, right? I've come out with this bold statement to say that I'm quitting reselling and focusing on small business mindset instead. And I'm not joking. I'm changing my approach. I'm now focusing on purely small business mindset. Now, I'm going to give you some context of what all does this mean, and you can leave your comments and thoughts about this along the way. By all means, please. Open book, more than happy to hear your thoughts. Again, this isn't about anyone, this isn't about you, this is purely about myself and how I choose to operate and how I'm choosing to operate. But essentially, from now on, it is small business mindset. And what does that mean? Well, opposed to reselling and I guess flipping as a medium to make money and operate as a business, I believe, my personal opinion is, the moment we pull ourselves out of the box reselling can become, we can start to actually untap the potential that we all have. Now, it probably sounds like I'm talking a lot of swings and roundabouts and I'm going around in riddles and things like that. But small business mindset usually means a combination of all these different things, and it will apply different to everyone. But the way I've broken it down is this: resourcefulness and efficiency with limited resources, adaptability, ownership and accountability, embracing a growth mindset, meaning continuous improvement, taking calculated risks, maintaining focus through self-control and flow state. I want to make sure people understand that I'm not trying to take a stab at resellers or flippers or anything like that, but help you understand what my mentality is around this, right? A reseller is no different to a retailer or a distributor, right? Basically buying products from manufacturers or wholesalers and then selling it to make a profit. Think about it. You walk into Kmart, which is Australia's store. If you're watching this internationally, you walk into Kmart and you buy a pair of jeans for $19. They've either manufactured these for a low cost price or they've purchased them for a low cost price. And now they're selling them to you, a customer in Kmart, for a marked up price. Resellers, retailers, distributors, wholesalers, e-commerce platform sellers, these are all at the mercy to suppliers or manufacturers. That's the truth, right? Buying low and selling high. And my honest opinion is, I think we limit our thinking when we're focusing on reselling and flipping, more so flipping though. Naturally, I feel we evolve from going from a flipper to a reseller to a small business. And by boxing ourselves into these different mentalities, we can get stuck in customs which slow us down, I believe. So when we box ourselves into reselling mentality, which falls very, very close to a flipping mentality, which usually in general is like a side hustle. It's something we do to make a quick buck on the side. Now we tend to take a linear mindset of, focusing and maximizing our profits by buying low and selling high. At the end of the day, that's what business is. You need to have low costs and have high profits. But the reality is we become less focused on building actually like a long-term business or brand and being more focused on finding profitable opportunities in the short term. Now, when we change this mentality, and I'm talking to myself mainly in this video, but hear me out. When we change our mentality to a small business owner, we can then tend to have a more entrepreneurial mindset, meaning we can tend to focus on building a long-term business or brand. And we may be more willing to take risks and invest in new products or new markets or try new things. It may also mean that we can become more focused on creating value for our customers and building a loyal customer base, opposed to rather than just trying to make a quick profit as quick as possible. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm trying to say is that they all have their different mentalities. They all have their pros and cons. They all have their different approaches. And this is a generalization. It's not at anyone, but only to myself, right? And I'm sharing you my journey. That's what this whole YouTube is about. I share my own journey with my reselling, with my life, and with my running. And there are a vast range of different mindsets that we can take on. There's a whole different ways of strategies and methods that one can do when hustling or running a business or, just trying to get ahead. And there's no one size fits all, I guess, definition for it. What I can say though, is if we look back from a historical perspective and just refer to some of the, ones that maybe most people are familiar with, one example would be a small business owner that focused on reselling. Now, focused on reselling and flipping also, which was John D. Rockefeller, right? Now, if you don't know the story of this, but in short, he made his fortune from the oil industry, basically buying and reselling oil from independent drillers, right? So he was taking the oil, getting it at a low cost, and then selling it to someone else who wanted it in that demand or really, really needed it. Now, on the other hand, we have someone such as Sam Walton, which is, he was the founder of Walmart, and he built a large retail business. If you don't know Walmart, well then a large retail business in America, and started building a network of stores and sold products at low prices. But he then took on the visionary of creating, I guess, a supply chain and logistics, and he was able to sell products a lot cheaper than his competitors because he built out a whole network. He built out a whole franchise. He built out a whole business on scale that was more than just, going and getting that cheap and then selling it for a bit more. There was a whole network of operations. So what does this all mean? Honestly, it doesn't really change anything for you. What it does change for me is I'm just not sharing my reselling progress. I'm now sharing my business progress. Now, I've been sharing my business progress since I started this. You know that. If you've been a long time watcher, I appreciate you. Thank you. You would see that I share a lot of my numbers. I'm very business oriented, and I talk about all those numbers and I focus on those kind of things because I look at it from a different perspective. I'm not saying my way is the right way. I'm not saying that other people's doesn't work either. All I'm trying to say is this is what's working for me. This is where my mind's at, and this is how I want to approach it. So coming back to that small business mindset and its combination of all these different things, as you can see on screen, essentially, I want to elaborate more on this and help you understand what does this mean. Well, my ambition, and we're getting real here, my ambition is to build a business around my lifestyle, one which isn't created on needing me, but actually it will grow through the building of systems, processes, teams, governance, partners, and most of all, leverage. I guess it's like an ecosystem of sorts, or something which, works together in unity. And now this is where it gets really interesting, because when we start to apply a small business mindset, it actually starts to blow things out of the water quite big, because a small business ceiling is quite high. And what I mean by that is, if you just look up what is a small business in Australia, it's a small business is any business that's doing less than $10 million in annual revenue. So the ceiling gets really, really big. Now, at the moment, I'm operating a lot less than that. So I have a long way to go. Year one, I did $51,000 in revenue. Year two, I did $86,000 or $84,000 in revenue. So the question is, what can I do in year three? Is it $100,000? Is it $160,000? Is it $250,000? Is it more? Is it less? And to be honest, I don't know. But the thing that we should be asking ourselves is, we can do what is possible, and it's only what we deem. So I'm not here to say that I'll be doing $250,000. What I am saying though is I'm now changing my shift of how I want to operate, or at least making that very, very clear to anyone that's watching and listening. And how I plan to do this with my first action to make this happen is new and helping hands in the business. So again, let me break this down for you. I want to help people understand how to operate their business as best as possible. I can only teach you what I know. I can only teach you where I've come from, meaning my own experience. I can't tell you to go do something if I'm not doing it myself, because that would be unfair of me, right? It would be wrong of me to do, right? I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to share with you how I'm doing it, how I'm handling it. If you want to apply that, if you don't, that's entirely up to you. So as I said, my first plan of action is to get helping hands in the business. And the way I'm thinking about this is this. Let's say I buy 200 items and it costs me $2,000, right? Average cost of good works out to be about $10 each. Now, if I can sell those items for $40 each, essentially we're talking about $8,000 in revenue. Now, the cost to sell this, on average, fees would be about 15%. That's $1,200. Postage, let's assume $9, taking in, postage bands and things like that, $9 per item. So that's about $1,800. And then if I'm hiring, let's say, a photographer at this point, and they're just purely going to be taking photos of items that I can then start to list, let's say it's $1.50 to $2 per item, which works out about $400 for all those items. Total costs come to $5,400, and potential profit would be $2,600. Again, this is all assumption. This is all based on pure paper math. So the next step in that theory is to put it to the test. I need to put it to the test. Now, I've actually got someone that's been trialing this already, but one thing which I think will become very, very apparent, and it's probably the big question that people are probably thinking, is who in their right mind will be working for $2 per item, right? Well, that's probably one of the big questions that I need to address, and I'm going to address that very shortly. And the other big question is probably, how can you upskill someone and not waste money? While the other question may actually be, wouldn't you have to lose a lot of money or spend a lot of money before you can have that return on, getting someone skilled, getting someone trained up and all that jazz? That's right, I've got to find the right fit. So there's a few open areas there which need to be resolved. I agree, who in their right mind is going to be working for $1.50, $2 per item? I think, in short, no one, but when you understand how you break it down, I think it makes sense, because on average, I believe someone can do this where it makes sense that they're earning about $30 per hour. And I'm going to be hiring on the basis that I'm paying someone $30 an hour, with the assumption, knowing that once trained, and with their flow state and with their set of rules and instructions and expectations, the individual should be able to process 13 items per hour, which works out to be about $26 per hour if they're doing, $2 per item. And then I'm going to make sure I'm paying super and all those things on top of that. So it works out to be about $30 per hour. Again, this is all theory. It's all on paper. Time to take action. So as I said, I am currently temping someone out with this. I'm having them go through the process, test the process, learning the ropes, understanding if this makes sense for them. And I'm assessing just as much as they are if this is a viable option. And from here, it's showtime. Now I got to start doing the work, putting in the efforts to make sure that I can start to make these principles, these pillars, and these new things that I want to elaborate on and grow into action. Meaning, I have to get out there. I have to be the one to buckle up, and I have to do the work, right? I have to be accountable, and I have to elevate the growth that I want. No one else. It's not on you. It's not on anyone else that's watching. It's not on any of my, competitors or peers or anyone else within that community. It's purely on me alone. Now, I've looked at this and I've seen, I know I can do $86,000 in a single year because I did it last year. So if I can have someone else doing a percentage of that on top, and I think I can do a little bit more, well then what can I actually do if they're taking a percentage of my effort and putting it cream on top, and I've got that time back? How can I use that time back in my hands? It's very similar to the storage unit analysis video that I did just the other week. It's the same mentality, and it means I can possibly have some same or greater or different results. That's my update. Now, quickly, I'm going to share with you, and this is very scary to share because I'm being very bold, I'm being very ambitious, but I'm basically being realistic with you all of how I go about processing things, how I go about thinking about things, and how I go about looking ahead and wanting to execute. But this is really my goal for 2023. Time to level up and time to put things into play to make things get to where I want them to be. I've got some bigger ambitions above this, but again, this is one step to getting to where I want that to be. So this will be my new little tracker, keeping me accountable of all my goals and all my aspirations. And really, key focus is to put in all these things this year that's going to enable me to slingshot growth. Right? And to get perspective, I want to document this because I want to come back as we continue to progress over the year and over the years of what this looks like from now to then. So currently, time of filming this video, 29th of January 2023, I'm listing 20 new items every day with an average of around $984 in revenue value, basically new stock onto the store. All right, so from basic math, $984 times 365 is $359,000 in potential opportunity. But we have to include sell-through rate. We have to take that into consideration. We have to also include the time to sell. So my current sell-through rate for FY23 is currently 30%, and my current time to sell is currently 80 days. So I need to take these things into account. I need to understand that if I take 365 minus 80 days, that's 285 days. So if I do 285 times $984, which I'm putting in every day on average, that gets me to $279,000. So $279,000 times 30% sell-through rate gets me to $119,000. Now, if you have a look at my tracking sheet, that's currently where I'm tracking to, about $117,000. So there's a big gap if I wanted to get higher to 160 to 250 or even further beyond that. Something has to change. So yes, I'm capable of reaching $100,000 doing exactly what I'm doing right now. But if I want more, 160,000 for instance, I need to be doing more each day. If I want $250,000, I need to be doing even more than that each day. And this is still all assumed based on listings and based on number crunching and things like that. So I need more sales, I need more listings, and I need more stock incoming and outgoing. That's the reality of it. I'm here putting it all on the table and really just saying it with conviction, right? I'm not here to say that, look at me, I've got all this figured out. I'm really just doing this as a bit of a documentation to myself to see what can I do, knowing that now I've put it out there and really wanting to put my ambition to the test. So let's see what I can do for 2023. Very ambitious, but I'm also very curious of what you're going to do for 2023 too. So let me know down in the comments. But what I think is really the big takeaway from here is, regardless of the result, as you know, I've shared this before, as long as we're moving forward with intention to do better than, you know, what we've done before, I think that's all that matters. Now, I have some really bold plans there, as you can hear, but the numbers are simply objectives to guide us to our reach, to our capability, and they're there to help us reach for new limits, to new goals, and to new lengths that we've never been before. And that's what I'll leverage that for. Of course, I want to earn that much. Of course, I want to be able to make that happen, but they're just vanity numbers, really. It's the same thing as having a YouTube channel or a number of followers. It becomes a vanity metric, which you can say, I've done $250,000. I mean, really, it makes no difference to you whether I'm doing $25,000 or $250,000. The only difference it makes is to me, right? Now, this is not a video to say that, look at me, I've got it all figured out, as I said before. This is a video to say, I'm here showing you what I'm trying to achieve. And hopefully it motivates some of you. Now, it might not motivate you till a year later, or 2 years later, or 5 years later. It might take me that long to do. But the reality is like, that is the reality. You got to do it. You got to move forward. You got to aim for what you want. And don't let people tell you that you can't do it. And there will be haters. I know that. So if you've got comments, more than happy to hear them out. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. Well, there you go. I'm still kind of just coming off the little spiel there at the start of this video. And again, it's going to be an interesting year. I've got some big plans, but it all comes back on me. It all comes back on me. So that's where I have to suck it up and just say, well, the only person that is responsible and accountable is myself, which is what I talked about, small business mindset. But over the coming weeks and over the coming months, I'll be explaining to you and sharing with you how I plan to change the way I operate, and how I plan to change what that small business mindset looks like compared to just going out and thrifting. Now, what I will say though is, like, nothing changes in terms of, I'm still going to be thrifting. I'm still going to be buying things low and selling them high, because reselling is an essence of any small business, is the essence of most businesses, to be honest. But the reality is like, from a scaling point, I need to bring in some routine, some structure, some processes and things that enable not me to be working fast and quickly and swiftly and getting a profit, but bringing in someone else, more people, and doing things such as leveraging my storage unit to grow the business the way I want to grow it. Again, this isn't necessarily the right way to do it for yourself, but hopefully it's going to be the right way for me. Appreciate you being here. You have a wonderful day. Cheers.